Coming up, total control. From now on, Kazakhstan intends to track the movement of fuels and lubricants from production to sale and storage. Details next. An historic date. Today marks exactly 30 years since the return of the Kandas people to their homeland. Popular performer AMRE represented Kazakhstan at the largest festival of Asian songs. Stay tuned to find out more. Kazakh Energy Ministry plans to completely control the movement of fuels and lubricants at all its stages, from production to sale and storage. In addition, the country intends to make inventories for diesel fuel, as well as for fuels and lubricants as a whole. Speaking of the price for fuel, Kazakh Energy Minister Magzum Mirzagaliev said that the work to stabilize the situation is currently underway. We are working out systematic changes. First, 3 refineries are undergoing scheduled and unscheduled renovations. We're supposed to set a time frame. The second is the formation of a logistics base. The third is the control of fuels and lubricants. Each oil base should be properly equipped. We are working on these issues and will make adjustments by the end of the year. The Senate also considered the state budget bill for the next 3 years. In 2022, almost 51% of the total amount of government expenditures will be directed to the social sector. This indicator will amount to 60% by 2024. Overall, more than 26 trillion tenge will be allocated for the social field.
Осы қаражат көптеген әлеуметтік мәселелерді шешуге мүмкіндік береді.
These funds will help solve many social issues. For example, the indexation of social benefits, higher wages for teachers, health workers, other workers who get paid from the state budget, and the construction of many social facilities.
Және көптеген әлеуметтік нысандар салу көзделген.
According to the Senate spokesperson, funds from the Treasury will also be directed to nationwide priorities. They will be allocated for overcoming the consequences of the coronavirus crisis and fulfillment of objectives set by the country's president.
Алдағы 3 жылға арналған бюджет негізінен қайта қалыпқа келуге және
The budget for the next 3 years is mostly a budget for reconstruction and development. The address of the head of state outlines specific tasks to restore the economy in the post-pandemic period, increase industrial performance, develop regions, and solve the most acute social problems that are of concern to the population. Funding for these tasks is reflected in the budget.
Халықты алаңдатқан өзекті әлеуметтік мәселелерді шешуге қатысты да мақсат, міндеттер айқындалды.
The Senate made a number of amendments to the bill and adopted a resolution to send it back to the Majlis. The development of bilateral trade and economic relations and interaction between Kazakhstan and the European Union on global platforms. These were the topics that Kazakh Minister of Trade and Integration Bakht Sultanov discussed with the EU parliamentarians and representatives of Belgian business. The parties noted that despite the pandemic, the volume of mutual trade of Kazakhstan and the EU grows. Trade turnover has exceeded $19 billion over 8 months of this year, which is 15% more than in the same period of 2020.
Relation with Kazakhstan, we concluded the enhanced partnership cooperation agreement.
Even during the pandemic, cooperation of the EU with Kazakhstan was at a very good level. Kazakhstan, as the chair of the WTO Ministerial Conference, plays an important role in its preparation. We have to talk about reducing fossil fuel subsidies and greater investments in the agricultural sector. We need a clear treaty on trade and mutual assistance to improve vaccination rates around the world. It is also important to discuss the modernization of the WTO dispute settlement mechanism in terms of the Paris Climate Agreement. We hope that together we will be able to achieve significant results at this conference.
Geneva really tried to get a significant outcome for the MC12. We need something on the subsidy.
Also, speakers discussed the goals and objectives of the 12th WTO Ministerial Conference. It will take place in Geneva at the end of November, chaired by Kazakhstan. Confronting challenges and threats is only possible by joining forces, Nursultan Nazarbayev said at the Astana Club meeting. The first president of Kazakhstan made a number of specific proposals on a unique intellectual platform, where lively and unbiased discussions are taking place. This is also applied to the situation in Afghanistan. The initiative of establishing the UN International Center for the Rehabilitation of Afghanistan in Almaty is becoming increasingly relevant, he noted. Threats of the spread of COVID-19, confrontation of world powers, and nuclear disarmament were also among the topics discussed.
На этой площадке мы стремимся к тому, чтобы наметить новые точки взаимопонимания.
On this platform, we strive to outline new common grounds to unite the vast space of Greater Eurasia. This is the main mission of our club, which has already established its unique niche in the international arena.
Нашего клуба, который уже занял свою уникальную нишу на международной арене.
The Eurasian countries need a systemic dialogue. Regional international associations that have long operated, including with third countries, can be a tool in this regard.
Настала пора развивать прямые контакты между
It is time to develop direct contacts between the Eurasian Economic Union, the European Union, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the Organization of Turkic States. In this regard, I propose to create a four-sided economic forum, Greater Eurasia, where our countries could discuss and promote all possibilities of cooperation in Eurasia.
Страны могли бы обсуждать и продвигать все возможности кооперации в Евразии.
At a time when the world is facing another threat, namely nuclear weapons, there is a long-standing need to develop a working mechanism for the non-proliferation of these weapons. Nursultan Nazarbayev had previously proposed to develop a step-by-step plan. The alliance, also initiated by him, can become a central platform and a driving force. Coronavirus cases are rising again in Kazakhstan. The country reported 1,083 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. North Kazakhstan region accounts for the highest single-day case count. 143 new cases were detected there in the past day. The city of Almaty follows with 128 new cases. The Kazakh capital of Nursultan is in the third place with 125 new positive cases of infection. Since the beginning of the pandemic, total COVID-19 cases in Kazakhstan have passed 960,000. According to the data provided by the country's health ministry, over 31,000 Kazakh residents continue to receive treatment for coronavirus. Almost 6,500 of them are in inpatient care. 506 patients are currently in serious condition. 91 people are on a ventilator. To date, 7,884,832 Kazakh citizens have been fully vaccinated against the virus. France is experiencing the start of the fifth wave of the COVID-19 epidemic, announced French Health Minister Olivier Véran. According to him, the country now reports almost 20,000 new infections every day. Nevertheless, hospitals have been able to cope with the workload due to the high vaccination rates. More than 87% of French residents over the age of 12 have been fully vaccinated against the virus. To date, the government has no plans to introduce new coronavirus restrictions.
Et là, dans notre pays, près de 20 000...
You are asking if there will be a tightening of restrictions. In fact, I'm not ruling out such a scenario. But right now I can tell you that there are no such plans. However, no one knows how the situation with the virus will develop in the future.
En Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur et en région Pays de la Loire. Partout, l'épidémie...
Another coronavirus outbreak is on the wane in China. The number of infections is declining every day. However, prevention and control measures are not being relaxed. China's zero-tolerance COVID-19 policy implies a complete eradication of the virus in areas of infection. The target has not yet been achieved, and therefore the quarantine is still in place. Not only it's the coronavirus patients who are isolated, but also the people who were in contact with them, as well as those who were in the same places as the infected. The latter are being quarantined at home. To date, more than 1,200 people are receiving treatment for coronavirus throughout China. About 43,000 are being quarantined under medical supervision. Public preschool and school teachers have been on strike in Berlin for the third day. They demand a salary increase of 5%. Education sector representatives gathered near one of the city's main attractions, the Brandenburg Gate. From an impromptu rostrum, they turned to politicians, asking to help them achieve better working conditions. According to educators, if the state does not agree to their terms, the strikes will continue the following week.
Mit der Tarifgemeinschaft der Länder.
We were joined by colleagues from the city senate and district departments. Our main demand is the salary increase. We believe that our work should be valued, especially in times of the coronavirus pandemic when work is difficult and there is not enough staff.
Auszubildenden und die Übernahme der
November 18, 1991 is a truly historic date for Kazakhstan. A resolution on the resettlement of our compatriots from abroad was adopted in the country for the first time 30 years ago. Since then, more than 1.5 million people have returned to their historical homeland. During the 6th meeting of the National Council of Public Trust, Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev noted that this day is remarkable for the country. Aut Mukibek and other public figures, taking into account the historic role and importance of the Great Migration, emphasized the need of setting a separate date in the calendar for this event. I instruct the government to consider the issue of including this historic date in the calendar of special dates and submit a proposal. Marat Toxambayev is one of the witnesses of that historical moment of the resolution adoption. He said that in those years, certain agreements with 15 departments of the country were reached to support Kandas people. According to him, this work needs to be continued with even more eagerness. After all, this contributes to the return of a large number of ethnic Kazakhs to their motherland from abroad.
Son жылдардың өзінде осы жылдардың ішінде келген 80-нен астам ғылым докторлары. 220-дан астам ғылым кандидаттары.
Over 80 doctors and more than 220 PhD candidates of Kandas people arrived in recent years. All of them are now working in education and culture in our country. I think that we need to increase the number of quotas, support them. For example, currently, Kazakh Ministry of Education and Science has a specific project for youth. Special quotas are provided. These quotas should be increased. I think if we attract more young people from abroad, they will bring here their parents and grandparents soon.
Сол балалар келсе, ертең артындағы өзінің ата-анасын, әже, аталарын алып келеді деген ойдамын.
Since the beginning of this year, 15,903 ethnic Kazakhs have returned to their historical homeland and received the status of Kandas. 76.3% of them came from Uzbekistan, 9.5% from China, just over 6% from Turkmenistan, 2.5% from Mongolia, and the remaining 5.5% from other countries. Culture Days of Khiva took place in Brussels. The Europeans got acquainted with history, customs, and traditions, attractions, music, and cuisine of the ancient city of the Turkic world. An exhibition entitled Impressions from Khiva, the cultural capital of the Turkic world 2020, also opened here, displaying photographs of the ancient city of Uzbekistan.
Осы қалалардың жақындасуы, бір-бірімен танысуы, туристерді көбейту, мәдени байланысты нығайту.
The main purpose of the Culture Days of Khiva in Brussels is to promote the ancient city of Khiva as the cultural capital of the Turkic world in 2020. Introduce our traditions to the Europeans, develop cultural ties between the Turkic world and Europe, generate tourist interest in traveling to Khiva and Bursa, which is declared the cultural capital of the Turkic world in 2022. Since the ancient city of Turkestan was declared the spiritual capital of Kazakhstan, I invited our European friends to host Culture Days of Turkestan next year in Brussels. We are starting to prepare for this event today.
Аталды. Сондықтан мен осы Евросоюздың депутаттарына осындай ұсыныс кіргіздім.
During cultural events, it was announced that the next cultural capital of the Turkic world in 2022 will be the Turkish city of Bursa. The winner of the Slaviansky Bazaar, Yernar Sadırbayev, known by his stage name AMRE, represented Kazakhstan at Abu TV Song Festival. This year, the international festival was held online. Performers from 12 countries took part in it. The candidacy of AMRE for participation in the festival was supported by Khabar Media Holding, which is part of the Asia-Pacific Broadcasting Union. The music video of the Kazakh singer for the song "Ümitіңіз," Waves of Life, presented for participation in the festival, was shot on the Sharan Canyon, Almaty region. According to the director, its concept and idea have a special deep meaning.
Клипы «Ümitіңіз», где исполняет AMRE, мы выбрали локацию.
We chose the location of Sharan for the music video for the song Waves of Life by AMRE. We wanted to showcase the sights of Kazakhstan and make a philosophical approach to it. We show that each person has their own hardships, but this all will resolve. We wanted to show that we are one. Overcoming difficulties, we come back to normal life after quarantine.
Мы возвращаемся к нормальной жизни после карантина.
Видео.